I hope you all like that new intro. I did it myself, just like the, excuse me, starting off right. Just like the spooky season episodes I did previously. I made that one myself. It's my future goal or current going on goal for the show. But to add to it is to make my own intro music. But that one I came up with. It's very atmospheric. Hopefully it gets you in the mood to listen to a podcast about AI. Well, not really about AI. Assisted by AI. Generated by AI sometimes. But it's really a show about ideas. That's my SEO thing we have to work on. Putting on like the episodes, the podcast show about ideas. Just like Seinfeld, the show about nothing. This is the podcast show about ideas. Yep, this is Dumb Test Late, and I'm still Kirk. We are officially out of spooky season. Sorry, everybody, to announce that. This is the beginning of November. We're not on that Christmas creep just yet. We still have to get closer to Turkey Day here in the U.S., but it's starting. I hope you enjoyed the creepy episodes, the spooky season episodes I did. Those are fun doing, coming up with those ideas. And now we're out of it. And for this period, I'm just going to do regular episodes, nothing really themed. The one I'm doing today is an older idea that I had, excuse me again, about something that like I randomly thought of. Like I probably talked about this in earlier episodes where one of my favorite things to do is go down YouTube rabbit holes, and it's usually like retro things, like retro commercials. Yeah, because I remember I did the retro toy commercial or retro toy idea episode early on. I hope you listen to that one. But yeah, the idea I want to talk about this came from that. So there's like the rabbit holes you go down of retro stuff, and usually for me that's 80s and 90s. I'm an 80s into 90s kid, and some of the videos I randomly see on YouTube are like videos of people filming in malls, and it's always a title on YouTube like how malls used to be, and before online shopping and all that. Most of the time you went shopping, you went to a mall where it was a bunch of stores and you hung out when you were younger. But malls are kind of a dying thing now. Now the YouTube vids are walking through like abandoned malls. They're like time capsules of when they died out. But okay, that's the background. So the idea would come from this: is the main character, protagonist, is watching or goes down a rabbit hole of watching those kind of YouTube vids where it's older videos. And it's based around like somebody in the 80s with those big, huge home video cameras that are like on the shoulder, and they're filming people shopping in malls and all this stuff. The protagonist is watching this at home. He's on YouTube, and he's like in a weird mental state. Maybe it's like really late at night or something like that. He's in a kind of off state. And he sees something in the video that throws him off. He sees basically like himself, but not like a younger version of himself. Like, oh, I was a kid in the 80s and I was at the mall and somebody caught me on video. It's like, no, he sees himself at the same age he is now. Like in 80s clothes, just walking around this mall, and it freaks him out. He's like, wait a minute, that has to be like a doppelganger who looks like me. And then he like searches the video again, and he catches his doppelganger again in the video, and he's like studying them. It's like, this person looks exactly like me. How can this be? They have the same haircut. They have like the same mole on my face, something that's like really like only they would have. They're like, it can't be me. This is something is crazy. And they catch a better glimpse of themselves again in another video or the same video or something like that. And they see the person in the video has the same like visible tattoos as them. So they know like, okay, I'm losing my mind. How is there an adult version of me in this video from the 80s? He's like, okay, this has to be fake or something. But then he goes down a rabbit hole and he finds another video of kind of the same thing. An older video, and he sees the same thing. He sees himself again but it's an adult version, roughly the same age he is now, in this past video in a totally different area. And he's like, this can't be right. It can't be right. Okay, so that was the initial idea I had, and the problem was that's all I had. I didn't really have anything to go with it. Like, I loved the idea of doing a time travel story, a time travel mystery, but not actual, like, going into the past. Because, to be honest with everybody real quick, I don't believe time travel is a real thing. I'll put that aside. Like, I don't think you can physically go into the past because the past doesn't exist. Sorry. But I love Back to the Future and time travel stories and sci-fi stuff like that. I love it. But that was the background of the idea I had, but I didn't really know where to go with it. And I just worked on other things, and I did the spooky stories until today. I was driving home and I was listening to a podcast, and they were talking about this. I'm going to say this word wrong. Dissociative amnesia. Maybe that's the right way. And they brought up like one of the most famous cases with Agatha Christie, where she went missing for, I think it was a week or a month or something like that, and claimed to have amnesia, didn't know where she was, didn't know who she was. She was just found in a random hotel. And it was like reported she had dissociative amnesia. She had lost memory from a period of her life. She didn't know, like, her car was found by a lake or a river, and then she was just found somewhere else in a hotel, and she had no memory of those past days. But they were saying, like, it was at a time where their mother just passed, and her husband, it came out that her husband was having an affair and was leaving her, and it was a really tough mental time for her, emotional and mental time, and that can lead, that's what they talk about in the podcast, the reasons why it can lead to someone having, they call it a fugue state, or like the dissociative amnesia, where you lose track of a certain amount of time. They talked about another one where a guy lost track of years of his life. He couldn't remember. He was found in the back of a Burger King in another state, other state than where he was from, and he couldn't remember anything for years and years. So I thought that clicked in my head. I was like, maybe I can add that to the story, where the protagonist of my time travel story, he has something tragic happens to him, or something where he has a mental episode, or like a strenuous mental time where, I wouldn't say he has a breakdown or something like that, but something happens to him where he's not the same. He goes through a big, tough emotional change, and he starts to lose his memory. And that's why it throws him off so much. Him seeing himself in the past. That could be one angle from it. Also, another angle I wanted to throw in was that him seeing the videos online were started by him going to the dark web. This, of course, would be a fictionalized version of the dark web that'd be more crazy and sensational for entertainment value. I'm guessing, because I've never been in a dark web. I'm not cool enough to figure out how to get there. But like, he's maybe trying experimental drugs that he's bought on like a dark web marketplace, and this is kind of giving him the mental issues he's having, or he's trying to work with that, or deal with it in a not very good way by trying experimental drugs. And that's why he's having these visions that may or may not be real, of seeing himself in old videos in the past. And then he goes down this whole rabbit hole of trying to find who created the YouTube channel and who filmed these old videos in the past. So that's where the story goes in the suspense. This is probably the episode I'll come back to, because I'm still like formulating the story in my head. That's where I'm at right now. So the protagonist would be in this kind of strained mental state from some reason. If they were trying some experimental drugs, or there was this older movie, I think it was just called Superhero with Michael Rappaport, where he was given this experimental like antidepressant, and it made him either think he had superpowers or actually give him superpowers. The way the story is told, it's a really good indie film where the perspective is told from, he feels like he has superpowers, but they don't it's shown in a very good way when they don't actually show him using superpowers. It's just him explaining it and seeing stuff happen. So you don't know if he actually has superpowers or the experimental drugs is just making him think he does. Like he can jump really high or fly or walk through walls. It's done that way. So that could be like an aspect of the story where on the dark web he finds these experimental drugs that not really supposed to try, and it's giving him these weird visions, and he's finding these videos and he's saying this is myself in the past, and other people are like, I don't see it. Maybe it's only him seeing it, which will lead to him finding the antagonist in the story. This part I'm not sure yet. That's why I said I'll come back to this one. So far right now, I'm trying to decide if the antagonist will be an all-knowing AI version. I'm sorry. I started thinking about The Matrix, especially The Matrix 2, where Neo, at the end, he gets to the source I think it's the architect or something of the Matrix, and he realizes that he's always supposed to be there, and there's different versions of him that make it to the source, and then he has a decision. From that, I wouldn't copy that because it's not really good as a writing thing, especially for that Matrix story. It kind of copped out the Matrix story, but that's another story for another day. But in this story, that will be the antagonist. But my protagonist would get there. And this is kind of the ending I'm still trying to work out, or where the story leads to. He figures out it's AI that has created this YouTube channel, or it's AI or some kind of technological deity. I'm still trying to work it out in my head. Story might go crazy. Or a combination of AI and a deity that he stumbles upon. And he gets to figure out who's in charge. It's, the wizard behind the curtain. It's all this stuff, whatever that may be. And he finds out that the reason he's seeing himself in the past as an adult is because he got to this point in his life where he's given an option that he's about to die. And that's why he was having this change in mental state and all this stuff without him realizing it. And subconsciously, he was going to die. So all this was supposed to happen. He was supposed to go back to the source of these videos and all that stuff. He finds it, and the source, that's what I'm calling it now, gives him an option. He can either, as this same age he is right now, let's say 40, because I'm 40. He can go back. He can not go back, but go to any time period. Let's say go back, just to keep it simple. He can go back to any time period before at this age right now and keep living his life. Or how many other years, like say he has another 40 years to live. He can jump through time in any time that there's been and start again, but at the same age he is right now. That's why he sees himself in the 80s, because the past version of himself got to this point, and then they decided to go back to the 80s because they're an 80s kid. They wanted to relive the 80s and the 90s as an adult. And there's many different versions of himself. Like, he always gets to this point, and he's given this option. The second option he's given is he can die completely and and start over 100% and be not resurrected. I can't think of the word right now. Reincarnated, sorry. And start all over again and have no memory of what happened and just be a different person. And just be in another life. And so that's what he figures out is going on, that the reason why he's seeing a past version of himself. Of course, it's a suspense and mystery story in my head. So there'll be twists and turns and going down rabbit holes and to find out the truth of what's going on. But at the same time, you have that backstory of the mental state he's going through, the amnesia. Is this all real, or is it just all from drugs or whatever causing him to go to this mental state. Maybe he's just thinking all this is going on when it's not really. Something is creating this false reality in his head. If this is real, or did he really get to the deity or the AI source and find the truth out and all that stuff? So that'd be the backstory. Yeah, so that's what I have so far. Yeah, I took notes, but the distressed mental state, that's the next jump I wanted to make from this story. The first idea I had about them seeing the protagonist seeing themselves in the past. Yeah, that's what I have so far. But this is like, I want to revisit this because maybe I'll hear another podcast and come up with another idea. But I'll keep working on this one. This is I'll name this one part 1. Past me. Okay. The working title I had also was Future Me, but I think it makes more sense to say Past Me now. And also, I've never seen The Time Traveler's Wife, so hopefully this isn't just the story of the time traveler's wife. Hopefully not, because I never will watch or read that book, watch the movie or read the book. Hopefully this isn't just that same thing. I think my time traveling expertise is mainly based on Back to the Future, also the Avengers, and some other things I can't think of now. But yeah, I'll try to revisit this one to see if maybe I can add another aspect to it, or maybe like narrow it down to one specific story. But yeah, that's it for this one. Past me. Thanks for listening. If you're listening to this in the future, woo! But thanks for listening, wherever you are. I hope you like the intro music. I'm going to use this one again for a little while until I come up with a new one. But again, thanks for listening. This is Dumb Test Late, the idea podcast with AI, or the AI podcast about ideas. I'll come up with something. I'm just trying to hit the right SEO so I can show up in Google. But again, thanks for listening. Bye.